making sure that toxic relationship we came out of don't make us bitter, but make us better. Yes. And so you're looking for somebody good out there, but you're not good yourself.
Absolutely.
So the thing about it is working within yourself. When you go into the relationship as your best and they go into the relationship as their best, then you have a great relationship.
Absolutely. Welcome to another amazing episode of the TMC podcast.
As we continue to help you take your relationship from
surviving to thriving. If this is your first time joining us, go ahead and subscribe. Click the like button and turn on your notifications so you'll be notified each time we upload a video.
We have a dynamic conversation today about the green flags in relationships. So, typically when we're talking about relationships, we talk about red flags. Let's talk about the green flags. I think that if you're hoping for a relationship to work out, you need to know what successful or working out looks like.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
So in a relationship, when someone can apologize to you, that it shows not only their maturity and their growth, but it shows a level of value and respect towards you, which is so key.
Absolutely. I completely agree. Because when we're choosing not to apologize, you putting yourself above that person. We don't think that it's a lack of respect, but it really is. We don't think that it's a lack of honoring the other person. We don't think that it's a lack of putting them first or being respectful to them, but it is, because what you're saying is that me being right, or the way I feel, what I want, what I desire means more to me at that point. I mean, if we be honest, many of us in our 30s, 40s, 50s have problems apologizing, knowing that we're wrong, but we justify it. We justify with, well, if you wouldn't have did this, then I wouldn't do this. So that is definitely a green flag. Someone that is mature, they have enough self-awareness and they respect the other person to apologize when they wronged them.
I think this is like probably number one green flag, is that their words and their behavior align.
Oh,
because if not, I heard somebody say it once, a pair of lips can tell you anything. And I think that's true, but it's like, what are your actions? Actions communicate and speak very loudly. If the words and the behaviors are aligning, it's like, wow, that's beautiful.
Absolutely. So if you're in a relationship with someone, you're dating, you're in a relationship, and you say, okay, wow, this person says what they mean what they say, they do what they say they're going to do, they are who they say they are. They respond in the manner of what their words say to me. So when you say that you love me, there should be some action behind it. When you say that you care for me, there should be some action behind it. When you say you respect me, there should be some action behind it. And that goes both ways, male and female. So I definitely agree. That's a green flag. When you're dating and you're wondering, is this relationship going to go further? Is it something I should continue to pursue? If that's something that you're seeing, that's like, check.
Yeah.
And to me, we talk about this a lot of times on TMC. Things that we learn in business leadership books or whatever, we apply to our marriage. Cedric and I do, because a business is a partnership. Sure. Marriage is a partnership. A relationship is a partnership. We're in this together. And so if your actions don't line up with your words, that can be a problem for me, because when it comes to business, you can have the feds knocking on your door behind what somebody else did. And in a relationship, you can have other issues in your life based on what somebody else did. So I definitely agree. Business, parenting, in every way, if somebody's actions line up with their words, that's a go. If it doesn't, you might want to pay attention.
Yeah, I think that's good, because when you really look at even something like FICO scores or things like that, I mean, basically your credit score is built on your actions. It's not built on lip service. It's built on your actions. And it's like, they know if you pay your bills, and they know all this before they give you a go on that next vehicle, give you a go to purchase that house, because that's a relationship between you and the bank. They're giving you a loan. I mean, I think we need to look at relationships like that. Maybe you want to consider they may not deserve that green flag.
True.
So
absolutely.
Because we have to remember, love is a verb. As much as we think of it as a noun, love is a verb.
Absolutely.
There has to be some feet to that. There has to be some action. So when someone is saying they love me, I can hear that. and I can even receive it, but I'm going to look for the action behind it because love behaves in a certain way. If you're a believer, you can go, through all about the Bible, but we always like to say
First
First Corinthians 13.
chapter, yeah.
It's easy to say I love you, but where's the action to go with it?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Because like I love the beach. I go there. There's some action behind that. Yeah.
And I think that what you just said, Jamila and Cedric, actions speak louder than words, and actions being behind that. What you two just said is just keep ringing in my ears like intentionality. It's like, what's your intention?
Yes.
What's your purpose? Having a purpose, being purposeful, being focused. It's all about intention. From the first one, you're able to apologize. Being able to apologize, that takes intentionality. You're purposeful to put the relationship above what you're feeling or what you thought, and above even you, and keeping face because you're wrong. And then your words line up with your action. That's definitely intentionality. You have to be the person that says, I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do. If I say that I care, and be careful of your words, because don't say words to somebody that you don't mean,
Right.
So it be intentional. If I'm not ready to go to that level or whatever in a relationship, don't say it. Don't say something that you're not ready to walk out.
Don't be out here selling wolf tickets.
So basically mean what you're saying, say what you mean.
Absolutely.
That's it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Because I think even too, it also goes back to love. If we're trying to work towards that or build towards love, these are the things that are indicators that this person is serious. They respect you, and there's love, brewing if it's not already there. Because I think when you love someone, you are intentional. That's why sometimes I have issues with I fell in love, because it seems so passive, like you didn't have a choice, but love is a choice. And so when you're choosing to say, I'm going to put you before me, to me, that's love. Because when God defines love for us, it says that you put somebody else's needs above yourself.
Absolutely.
And I can tell you that can be challenging sometimes. And so if someone can do that and do it consistently, I think that's the other word we need to add. They're doing it consistently. So we got apologize when they're wrong, that their words and behaviors align. Let's get some more.
Definitely. We've been talking about intentionality. So I would say that they are intentional about setting boundaries with you within the relationship, for the relationship, and they honor those boundaries and they keep them in place. To boundaries or gates. This is our fences, and we decide what's good for us, what's not good for us. And each one of us communicate that with each other. So when you find someone that has the ability, or they are intentional, that's what I want to say. They're intentional about respecting your boundaries and honoring what your boundaries are in a relationship, then I think that's a green flag. That's definitely something to give you a go, because respect, we all know that respect is a two-way street. You give respect, you get respect. And so if I'm respecting your boundaries, you're respecting my boundaries. If I'm intentional about that, that's definitely someone that you can move forward with, that they know this doesn't work for her. This is a no-go for him. This is what he's asked of me. This is what she's asked of me. And they respect that and they're intentional about that. I think that is definitely a green flag.
Any relationship, that's a healthy relationship, because unhealthy, dysfunctional relationships are usually where there's a lack of boundaries.
Yep. And sometimes that can be one-sided. It could be one-sided because that person, they have a whole list was not going to work for them. And when you cross it, oh Lord, the world is falling apart. But then they can do anything to you, or they can do anything, and they constantly disrespect your boundaries. And that's okay. There's justification for it, or there's reasoning. And it's, serious. It's not just me wanting to have my way. It's me telling you morally what matters to me. And then you have the ability to say, okay, I know that this is important to her. This is important to him. And I would respect that.
Because, we can even unpack this even further, because if you're trying to get to know someone, titles or boundaries. If they're willing to have what they call the defining the relationship, that's a boundary. That, okay, we're going to be in a mutually exclusive relationship with one another. That's a boundary. Like they're introducing you as, this is my future wife, this is my girlfriend. That's a boundary. And I think that's healthy when someone can set that boundary. So boundaries can be different things, but I think that's a boundary. And if someone is setting that boundary, I think what you said, they're intentional. And you don't have to wonder where they want the relationship to go. They're telling you, and it goes back to their actions are
lining up
probably
with,
these are all interdependent.
Exactly, they're all intertwined because it's just like layers. It's things for when you're dating, when you're in a relationship, it's things for you to look for, and they all go together. Because at the core of it, I don't think that you can have one without the other. I mean, can a person actually be the kind of person that'll apologize when they're wrong, but then their actions don't line up with their words?
True.
I mean,
that's true.
Can they? I'm not sure, because typically that would be a person that abuses an apology just because they want to get their way. Versus
manipulative.
Versus someone that actually says, hey, I was wrong and blah blah. So I think they definitely all intertwine with each other. If you see one, you'll see some of the others as well in a person.
These are some good things to
absolutely
be on the aware. I feel like we're being so positive and optimistic because this is a new year. There's gonna be love in the air.
It is. The thing that I think makes this episode important is that you want to be able to recognize the good. If you've been in toxic relationships, sometimes it can be difficult to recognize. You like, what he trying to do? What's she up to? They trying to run game or something.
Right.
They lying. It just can't be this good. So it's giving you something to look forward to understand that this over here, that was toxic. It shouldn't have been that way. If they could never apologize for their wrongs, there was a problem, and it doesn't necessarily mean the problem was you. If their actions didn't line up with their words, there was a problem, and that problem definitely wasn't you, because their actions and their words is on them. If they couldn't respect your boundaries, they have a problem. And and you have to label that as a toxic relationship, and you have to know what it is so that you don't self-sabotage something that's good, because sometimes we can do that because you think that it means that there's something else coming behind it. Or either you see it as what I was talking about a few minutes ago, that they're doing these things, or it appears that way because they're trying to manipulate you. When it's no, they are a good person because these things are aligning. They may be future wifey or future husband, and you don't want to have a mindset that self-sabotages.
Yeah, and I do want to say this though, because that's an interesting point. It's not as simple as it sounds. For somebody to come out of a toxic relationship, to go into another relationship, and the aspect of trying to be positive when positive. All you know is negative. So I would strongly encourage you to get some help, find some help, get someone that can walk with you, someone that can coach you. Maybe you need counseling, to kind of unpack, some of those hurt stages of your life. Because a lot of times those things are necessary. It's nothing wrong. Don't mean you're crazy because you're getting some help. It is okay. We're in a new era now, moving away from, an era that thought going and get counseling mean you crazy. I mean, it's so far from that. We need that help. We need that help because sometimes it's hard to recover, and we can't recover on our own. So find somebody to help you walk this thing together. Stop trying to play on the team by yourself. This is not a golf game. Think of it more like team sport.
Absolutely. That's good.
And I'm so glad that you brought that up, because a lot of times we do think that I just have to, get through it on my own, or we might not even recognize that we do need help, because that's something that I did the last relationship that I got out of. I realized that I needed help to unpack and process. I processed on my own, but then that came to a point to where I'm like, okay, I need a sounding board, and I understand the counseling process. It's like, I need a guide to help me finish the rest of my healing journey, because that's something you said. And what I said is that I don't want to let this previous experience stop me from enjoying the next experience. And if you don't go through that healing process, if you don't reflect, if you don't heal, then you won't be able to recognize a boundary versus a wall, because there are difference. Walls keep people out. Boundaries allow people to come in and out. And so, but if you're not healing and you're still, your frame of reference is that last toxic relationship, then you'll think a boundary is a bad thing, when boundaries are good. They actually protect people. So it's like, I'm so glad you brought it up, because no, it's not always easy to when you've experienced that, but there's light at the end of the tunnel. Absolutely. And I think, listen to this podcast, this episode, it should give you hope to where there are some good relationships out there. And now it'll help you ground, because one of the things that will happen, you meet somebody, you're perfect, this is so nice. But this helps to ground you beyond just he's cute, she's cute. I like, check yes, no. Do you like me? To actually give you some concrete things to ground you of, does this has the potential to be a healthy, successful, relationship?
You said something. I just want to kind of add to that as well. That's why, even with counseling, making sure that toxic relationship we came out of don't make us bitter, but make us better. Yes. And so you're looking for somebody good out there, but you're not good yourself. Absolutely. So the thing about it is working within yourself, becoming that individual, becoming wifey material, becoming husband material, so you can be the best. So when you go into the relationship as your best and they go into the relationship as their best, then you have a great relationship.
Yes. Absolutely. And when you were talking about getting some help, the other thing that I thought about was time. When you go from being in a negative relationship, you don't want to just jump into another one. So you definitely want to get some help. Coaching, counseling, get someone to help you, unpack it, walk through it, and give yourself time when you know that I can go into a relationship and not be bitter.
Think about this. Just follow me for a minute. Yeah. Think about this. So you're in the broken relationship, right? A toxic relationship. So you immediately jump out of that relationship and you jump into a new relationship. So this is what you basically did. I'm gonna give you some visual. What you basically did when you went into that new relationship, you brought your ex, you just brought them right into the relationship. Wow. So the hurt that they did to you is now the hurt that you're bringing to the new relationship. So please get some help. I know sometimes we get lonely, we want to move on quickly, but take your time. Be patient. It's going to be worth it. Another thing about that relationship is when, let's say whatever relationship you was on a certain level, it's hard to get a relationship on the next level or to get a compatible mate on the next level when you're still hurting on this level. So because you're hurting, you're going to attract somebody that's hurting because that's what y'all have in common. That's what's keeping you all together. Because when we meet somebody, we meet somebody that we're connected to. And we find ourselves connected to somebody else broken. And we're wondering why we're still in this revolving door of relationships. Is because you never healed a bunch of broken people looking for each other. And they find out like, where the good people at? It starts with you.
Yeah,
it starts with you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That is so true. It's what Cedric just so beautifully put, that you bring all that past pain, toxicity, all this other stuff into the new, because that's your lens. And that's your lens is how you filter a relationship or filter your experience. And it's going to be filtered through that previous broken relationship. And guess what?
Absolutely.
Because it's still on you. It's still on you. It's like rain or whatever. You get out the pool, you come out the rain, you go sit in the car, you sit on the couch. It's going to get wet because it's on you. So you definitely have to have that time and someone to help you, because sometimes if something is on us, if we've been wet for a long time, you know, when you first get wet, you're cold and you're like, oh my God, but after you've been wet for a while, it becomes normal. And that's the same thing with toxic relationships. And so it may have ended, and in your natural mind, okay, this was toxic, it wasn't good for me. You may not even say toxic, you just might say he wasn't the one, she wasn't the one. But you don't have that time and that person to help you dry off and process and get that off of you. So you automatically, if you jump into another one, you taking it in there.
And you jump into the same water. Same water with a different name.
Exactly. You show up in the beginning and it's all hunky-dory in the beginning because we're in that romantic phase and that loving and but then when you go down the line, that's when it shows up.
But I think when you're whole and you're healthy, these green flags help you because if you're broken, if you still have past pain, these green flags may not help you.
Just think about this too. You may mistaken a green flag for a yellow. You get your colors mixed up because now you're walking around colorblind. You're walking around colorblind and you think it's green, but it's really not. It never turned.
It never turned. That's just the way you saw it.
Oh man, your perspective.
Oh, that's powerful.
All right, so we got 1, 2, 3. Let's go ahead and do a 4. What's the
okay? 4? So the fourth one would definitely be someone that is intentional and purposeful about resolving conflict. And the reason why we say that is because a red flag is when someone doesn't want to resolve conflict. We have a problem, we're going to smooth it over, we're going to act like it don't exist, whatever. A healthy relationship, it doesn't matter if it's a parent, if it's a business, if it's male to female. In a healthy relationship, you want to resolve conflict, because conflict says that there's something that's different between us. There's some kind of tension. There's something to pay attention to. It doesn't necessarily mean it's the end of the world and you're not the one. It just means, because we could just think different about something. And what it means is that a conversation needs to be had. And if you have a person that is willing to say, okay, we have a problem, let's work through this, whatever the problem is, that is definitely a green flag, because again, I believe that is a symbol for someone that is healthy, and for someone that is whole, because they understand you may be right or I may be right, but let's talk about it. Or we both may be right. Maybe it's just your perspective, the way you see it and the way I see it. Maybe we can come somewhere in the middle. We collaborate. Oh, okay, that makes sense. I understand it. Okay, that makes sense. I understand it. But they are definitely intentional and purposeful about resolving conflict.
And I think the narrative behind that is that they're willing to resolve conflict, because I think that's when we get into the red flags, when someone never wants to address conflict.
Yes.
Conflict, it takes on a negative connotation, but there's healthy conflict.
Absolutely.
Like when we do research on teams, like task conflict, it depends on what type of conflict. Is it task or something else? Certain types of conflicts are actually healthy, and it helps you to unify and grow.
Yeah, it grows you.
Yeah. So, but I think too is knowing your conflict style, and being able to not just know it, but to articulate it.
It was another podcast episode where we talked to some marriage coaches, and he said the same thing. He said that Alan said that you have to explain, because if you have two people, okay, so we're in conflict. My idea is I need time and separation. Your idea is let's talk about it. So we have two different styles for bringing this to a head. But what we have to do is communicate those styles to each other and explain. I need some time to think, because we've also talked to many men, many husbands on TMC, and they like, hey, give me some time to process. Yeah. So you may need some time to process, but let's make sure that as a couple, as a unit, that we have some idea of what that looks like. So resolving conflict in a healthy manner is, okay, so he needs time. She's ready to talk about it, or she ready to talk about it. They need time, whichever one it is, but understanding that how much time does that mean? Yeah. So that's good to set the boundaries there. Like, okay, give me 24 hours, give me 48 hours. We're going to come back, because needing time doesn't mean that I'm going to say, I need time to think about it. And then 3 months from now, we still thinking about it. No, that's not resolving it. And at the same time, it has to be explained, because just like you said, I'm the person that's like, okay, so 10 minutes from now, you should have an answer. And it's like, no, I need time to process.
Yeah. And I think you said a key word in that phrase is that you're resolving conflict. Because we could have conflict and it never gets resolved. Like you said, 3 months from now, we talking about the same old thing. And sometimes I've been in situations where it may take that long, but there's an active engagement to try to work through it. Yeah, but it's to resolve it, because it's to acknowledge it, but then it's one thing to another thing, and a building thing to actually work towards resolving that.
Absolutely. And I think that I'm glad you said that, because sometimes we have to realize that something is big. And if it's big, it's going to take longer. It may take longer than a 30-minute conversation to resolve it. But that if we've been working on it for 3 months trying to get a resolve, then that's good, because we still working on it. But if you just want to sweep it under the rug for 3 months and act like it ain't happened, no, that's not good.
Like, no, that's not gonna work out, and that's not gonna build the type of relationship that you want.
Absolutely.
And I know we're saying this and it sounds like cheeky a little bit, but these are things like growth patterns. Like, we're not just saying this is like a magic thing, because I don't believe in magic. But it's not like a wave your wand and everything is perfect, but it's to work towards. It's like healthy goals. Everybody want to say goals, and wifey goals, husband goals. These green flags could be healthy relationship goals.
Exactly. And that's what I was thinking about when we were talking about them. And even when you're talking right now, I'm thinking about what Cedric said. If we're listening to the green flags as an individual, and if you take it to yourself and say, am I apologizing when I'm wrong? Does my actions line up with my words? You can definitely, you want to look at it for the other person, because you want that in return. But just like the two of you said, you want to be that kind of person first. You want to be that kind of girlfriend, that kind of boyfriend, that kind of wife, that kind of husband. Yeah. You want to be the same kind that you want. Because I can't ask Cedric to apologize when he wrong, and then I'm sitting up here and I know I'm wrong, but I'm not going to apologize. I want his actions to line up with his words, but then I want to do whatever I want to do. It doesn't work that way. So definitely, I think it's all about growth for the individual. Yeah. And we've said healed and whole multiple times. It's you even looking at it as ways to grow yourself, to heal yourself, and for you to show up better. Yeah. So when you're showing up better, you know that these things are green flags. These are go to say that this relationship can go to the next level. So you have to be that first in order for you to expect to receive it.
Yeah. And this is the thing, just to really think about it. Maybe you got into a relationship and the flag wasn't green. I would tell you, you and the individual, you guys come together and you can make the decision to say, you know what, we're going to work on ourselves, and you can build up yourself as individuals. I'm not talking about you fix him or you fix her. I'm talking you work on yourself and he or she work on themselves. And if you all work on yourself, it just better the relationship. And then the flag that was yellow is now green.
Absolutely.
Because when you said, fix him, it remind me of one of my favorite movies, Color Purple. No such a thing. No such a thing. There's no fixing the other person. Even if you're not in a relationship right now, you could take these green flags, and these are things that you're working to, perfect or mature. When I say perfect, I mean maturing yourself to make sure that you are doing these things, so that when you do begin to interact with someone, this is what comes forth naturally. It's a part of who you are, and not just something you're doing because you're in a relationship and now they watch the podcast and they know what green flags are.
It's not a weapon.
Right. Yeah, thank you. You're not weaponizing it, but you're really internalizing it because you want to be better. Because I always say, how do you have a better union? You bring a better you to the union. Yeah. So these are things that even if you're not in a relationship right now, that you can still be mindful of and help you grow, so that you can really have the relationship, or that relationship, the ultimate relationship, I guess some people say, is marriage. My ultimate relationship is with Jesus. So I could be better with Jesus too.
Yeah, I was going to say, we got to show up better with him too.
That's true. Look, I can take these same things and use it in my relationship with Jesus.
Absolutely.
Lord, I'm going to apologize for what I said.
Exactly. At the end of the day, you want to check yourself with these, because you want to make sure you mirror the
behaviors that you want to see.
Yeah. I really think that these green flags will really help people really take their relationships from surviving to thriving. And it's not just a tag. But absolutely. It's really that you can thrive in relationships, and these are some of the things that thriving looks like. I'm a visual person, so it's like, paint a picture for me, and this helps paint a picture of what a thriving relationship, what a successful relationship involves and entails.
Absolutely. So this is good. It's good information. Go ahead and give us the 4 again.
So number 1
is they apologize when they're wrong.
Number 2,
their words and behaviors align.
And number 3 is that they are intentional about setting and honoring boundaries. Number 4 is that they are intentional and purposeful about resolving conflict. So we want to thank you for joining us today on TMC. If this is your first time joining us, or if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and subscribe. Click the like button, and remember to turn on your notifications so you'll be notified when we upload a video each week. And if you're listening on iTunes, go ahead and rate this podcast and leave a review. We also want to invite you to head on over to our leadership podcast, Lead to Greatness, where my husband is interviewing entrepreneurs and great leaders from all around the world every week.
So we want to thank you for joining us today on TMC. Looking forward to hanging out with you again on next week as we continue to help you take your relationship from surviving to thriving. Bye. See you next week.